there's so many examples in history where the historian studies history, and this has been said in 500 BC, in 100 AD, in 700 AD, in 1200 AD, and 1500 AD, modern times. But basically what's said is doctors multiply the ailments with their cures, and the lawyers multiply the disagreements with their laws. The doctors want to prescribe and operate. The lawyers want to legislate and litigate. That's what they do. And so when you think about Bitcoin's protocol, Bitcoin core developers or protocol developers, they want to fix something or they want to make a contribution because it's in their DNA. But developers are just the lawyers of cyberspace. When the lawyer shows up at the Capitol, they've got to make a law to save you from yourself. And the more laws they make, the more they cripple the economy until eventually there's so many laws that the entire civilization collapses under its own weight. And when developers show up and they're invited to opine on the protocol, they want to actually introduce a piece of code to make it better. And and it's always, well, I could speculate a circumstance under which we might need this. Or I can speculate, if we don't do this, we're going to have a failure. But, in the history of mankind, people that preached doomsday, that predicted the end of humanity, they have 100% failure rate. And yet, every single demagogue, every politician, every empire builder has always preached this, right? I got to start my own religion because you're all going to hell and the world's going to end. When you get to the point where you have two warring camps with two different versions of a Bitcoin node and one of them has different functionality than the other ones, right? Now you're entering into a religious war. And if they're incompatible, who knows? If one is a superset of the other one, right? Probably if it's a superset of the other one, it's probably less of a hazard. When it becomes, when it introduces something which is incompatible, becomes more of a hazard. I hesitate to give you a black and white answer because I'd have to see it, but I do think it's a slippery slope. And as a general rule, developers ought to focus, don't F with the network. I just generally think people shouldn't screw with the network and they shouldn't screw with the core protocol. It works fine. If you want to introduce 1,000 new ideas, introduce them in Lightning. Create, for example, I don't have a problem creating your own implementation of Lightning, which is a superset of somebody else's, implementation of Lightning, right? So I think you can create different implementations of things at layer 2 and at layer 3. If you look at the 4-year simple moving average of Bitcoin and assume that was a reasonable surrogate, you can kind of arrive at a conclusion that nearly $600 billion of real capital has been put into this network. So $600 billion of real capital from who? From Fidelity, from BlackRock, from every institutional investor in the US, from every institutional investor in Europe, from millions of individuals, from representing pension funds, retirement funds, etc. So you can trace a huge amount of capital that's been put into this network. And ultimately, the security of the network is going to come from the actions of the people as voters and the actions of the economic actors, the capitalists, and then also from all the businesses, the application companies like Cash App or Coinbase, have an impact, and then the miners have an impact, and they all have lawyers and CEOs and lobbyists and employees, and they have nexus and they pay taxes, and therefore they have supportive mayors, governors, senators, etc. Collectors, Frick, Andrew Mellon, they didn't buy art to flip the art, right? They're not speculators. I bought a Picasso so I could sell the Picasso, right? They wanted to buy them all. That's why they call them collectors. So if something is deemed to be really valuable, you bought $1 billion of it, and your goal is to buy another $1 billion of it. And so if you think about all these things, which thing in the crypto ecosystem is that, right? Bitcoin is that, right? I bought a bunch of Bitcoin. My goal is to buy more Bitcoin, right? It's just a very simple acid test. Do you have an exit strategy, or is that the exit strategy? I think of the hodlers or the holders. That's one constituency. The miners are another constituency. There's node runners, another group, and developers, another group. But those are kind of technical definitions. Like, for example, a node is not a node is not a node. Coinbase runs a node, and Cash App runs a node. And if Cash App clears 100,000 Bitcoin transactions a day, their node is a little bit more important than my node. I could run a node, but if I'm not approving, and maybe more to the point, denying transactions, at the point where I basically take $100 million wired into my corporation, and then I refuse to deliver the Bitcoin because my node says it wasn't a good transaction, I'm an important node.
Hey, Money Talkers, we've got the latest scoop on the crypto roller coaster. Smash that like button, subscribe, and let's talk about the lowdown on the crypto roller coaster we're strapping into in 2024. Bitcoin's gearing up for its big halving bash in 2024. What's the fuss? Well, it's like a reward haircut for miners, and history says it might launch Bitcoin prices to the moon. Will it be a blast or a bust? Stay tuned, folks. Ethereum's gearing up for a turbo boost with the Dencun upgrade. Faster transactions, lower costs. Sounds like Ethereum's about to hit the afterburners. Will this make Ethereum even hotter? Let's wait and watch this crypto race unfold. US on Bitcoin ETF Watch. The US might be giving the green light to a spot Bitcoin ETF. Imagine the floodgates opening for the big guns, institutional investors flooding into Bitcoin. Brace yourselves for potential fireworks in Bitcoin's value. Big moves in the financial dance. The US is tapping the brakes on interest rate hikes. What's the ripple effect? Investors eyeing riskier ventures like crypto. Will this inject fresh blood into the crypto market? Get ready, my friends. The FTX saga is unfolding, and the financial knots are getting untangled. Will this bring back the believers? Keep an eye on this crypto soap opera. It might just encourage more folks to dip their toes into the crypto waters. Now, let's continue our discussion with Michael Saylor.
I've got $10 billion of natural gas fields, and the regulator is going to make me write them off and shut them in if I don't find a use of the natural gas. So I would lose money operating a Bitcoin mining rig to avoid taking a $10 billion write-off. I would lose money to remediate the methane. And then I've got the Three Gorges Dam that's got 10 gigawatts of extra power, and it's got a value of 0 right now. And so if I'm the Chinese government and I see somebody's Bitcoin mining operation, I just take the equipment, I plug it into my free electricity, and I generate billions of dollars a year of revenue by monetizing free electricity. So what you can see there is the brilliance of the power protocol is it's unique. And once you've actually taken $10 billion of capital, fungible capital, and converted it into $10 billion worth of Bitcoin mining rigs, it's a one-way transformation. You can't transform the capital back. It's sunk capital. The only thing you can do with it is power the Bitcoin network. And it doesn't really matter whether any individual Bitcoin miner succeeds or fails. The Bitcoin network is going to remain powered. And that's why, with just a few exceptions, you're generally going to see hash rate just continue to move up. It's an asset on a network based on a protocol rooted in an ideology. And the ideology is a choice of natural law versus human law. We prefer natural law over human law. We prefer physical sciences over computer sciences, and a choice to favor the universe over the metaverse. It's like Elon Musk joked, he said, like the laws of physics, are non-negotiable, right? Whereas the laws of man are suggestions. And Bitcoin is really that submission to natural law. There's a humility to it.
U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, Chairman Gary Gensler has issued warnings regarding cryptocurrency investments. There's a lot of the SEC might just be doing a U-turn on that elusive spot Bitcoin ETF. Former SEC honcho John Reed Stark, a once crypto skeptic, now says, hey, a spot Bitcoin ETF approval. That's a win for big crypto folks. Who saw that plot twist coming? This week, the SEC pulled a rare move, making calls to spot Bitcoin ETF hopefuls. Alina Terrett spilled the tea on X, and it's all about making sure everyone's into cash creates. Stark chimes in, spot Bitcoin ETF. Seems likely, and it's got us all on the edge of our crypto seats. Stark drops the bomb, calling Gensler's legacy a potential spot Bitcoin ETF green light. A mammoth victory for big crypto. Strange days indeed. But hold up, what's this spot ETF gonna look like? Stark says remains to be seen, folks. Stark, once the skeptic extraordinaire, now there's a 180. Earlier, he called the reported 90% likelihood of an ETF approval absurd. Now, he's singing a different tune. Times change, and so do skeptics, right? Let's not forget Stark's been the conductor of the crypto skepticism orchestra. He says crypto prices skyrocket for two reasons: a lack of regulation and people selling hype to the greater fool. Is this the end of the crypto Wild West? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more daily updates. Remember, knowledge is power, and we're here to empower you on your financial journey. Until next time, happy investing.